House Intelligence Chairman, the committee chairman, Devin Nunes, and House Oversight Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy, they actually went to the Department of Justice to view documents they have been requesting and that were under subpoena for months. But sources tell Fox News that Nunes and Gowdy were only briefed about the documents, that another meeting is scheduled next week for them to actually see it. But the best way to get the answer is to talk to somebody who was in that meeting. That's Chairman Trey Gowdy. And from the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Gowdy and Ratcliffe of Texas. Both are former federal prosecutors. Both have been in the system. Both have been through this process. And I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this beautiful Friday night. Chairman Gowdy, did you get a lot of lip service? Did you actually get to read the documents? And what did they tell you?
You know, Jason, it was a really productive meeting yesterday. I think every question I asked, the Bureau and the department now understand they're relevant, they're material, they're specific, they're pointed, and there's a reason that Congress wants to know the answers to these questions. So it was a really constructive, I know that is not good news from the media standpoint, that we had a boring, constructive meeting yesterday, but that's exactly what it was. And it was so constructive that we've agreed to meet next week. So you ask if we saw something. I can learn with my ears and I can learn with my eyes. And yesterday was important because I got to hear the department's perspective, but also got to ask questions. You're right. Johnny and I were prosecutors. I know the questions to ask in an investigation like this, and I need witnesses there that can answer them. Yesterday was really productive.
But when do you actually get to see them?
Well, let me say this. I've worked in all three branches of government, and there is tension. There's intentional tension put between the branches. There are lots of things that happen in the judicial branch that members of Congress can't see. There are things that happen in the executive branch that members of Congress can't see. And there are things we do, Jason, as you recall, in Congress that we don't let anybody else see. So that tension we've got to work through. I learned information this week. I still would like to see the documents. I think they've taken that request under advisement, and I think we're getting farther taking this approach, meeting eyeball to eyeball as opposed to exchanging letters and seeing who can leak them the quickest. That is not constructive. What is constructive is to have a conversation, and I think we're making progress towards accessing the documents.
Well, it's a shame that Nunes had to, issue a subpoena and threaten contempt. And the Southern gentleman of Trey Gowdy is coming out, but I'm glad you're making incremental progress step by step. I want to go to Gowdy Ratcliffe, I want to get your perspective on James Comey, because he's fresh off a book tour. He's said an awful lot of things, and we've learned a lot more about Director Comey. Has he made the situation better or worse for himself after this book tour and the things that we've learned about his actions while he was the FBI director?
Well, Jason, good to be with you. I think one of the things that has come out of Jim Comey's interviews on his book tour and the release of his secret memos is it's ironic to me that he's the one that created the allegation of obstruction of justice against Donald Trump, and now he's the same person who has effectively torpedoed the ability of the special counsel to ever prove obstruction. And I say that because the 15 pages of secret memos never mention obstruction of justice a single time. And in fact, one of the memos does exactly the opposite. It says that it's an admission by the former director that President Trump asked him to fully investigate whether or not anyone with the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians. It's why Trey and I have both referred to that memo as Defense Exhibit A in any charges that would be brought against Donald Trump. But I think he's also hurt the Mueller case and the ability to prove that. You can't build a case around a star witness who has damaged his own credibility and hurt his own reputation, as I think Jim Comey has done over the last few weeks on this book tour.
Well, do you think does he have any legal jeopardy himself, Director Comey?
Well, I think the best answer to that, Jason, will come with the release of the Inspector General report. We all anticipate that will happen shortly. We also know that the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, is someone who's proven himself to be a fair umpire, someone who calls balls and strikes fairly, and was, where appropriate, willing to make a criminal referral of the deputy FBI director. I will tell you, not having seen the report, I'll be surprised if the Inspector General doesn't find misconduct by former Director Comey. I think he'll find that he violated his employment agreement, made unauthorized disclosures of FBI documents, and whether they're classified or not, those are improper leaks. And I think he'll find that he made demonstrably false statements, as I think has been highlighted by some of the congressional transcripts that have been related recently as they conflict with some of the public interviews that he's been given. So I'm confident that if it's appropriate, Michael Horowitz will make that recommendation.
Chairman Gowdy, when do we expect to see this report? We keep getting delayed a little bit. You're going to hold, I believe, the first hearing. And what do you expect out of this? Do you think there will be any criminal referrals coming from this?
I don't know about the criminal referrals. You know, members of Congress, I've steadfastly tried to avoid accusing people of committing crimes. That was my old job. I don't know enough to do it. I know this. All three of us have tremendous confidence in Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General. He's a former federal prosecutor. He's a straight arrow. He just the very fact-centric. I think the reason it's taking longer, Jason, than he anticipated is he's finding more information. So what I would tell my colleagues in the House is give him the time and the independence and the resources to do everything he needs to do. I know that we wanted it in February and March, and that's human nature to want it quicker. But I want it to be complete, and I want it to be fulsome, and I want the American people to have confidence in what Horowitz has done. And if he can represent that he's accessed every document and every witness, I mean, stop and think. He found the page struck text, then he found the fact that some of them had been deleted, and then through his help, they were reconstructed. So I'm as impatient as everyone else. I know this. I want Horowitz to present a fulsome picture when he comes, and if that means waiting another couple of weeks, then so be it.
Do you have a date? Do we have a date when you're actually going to have that hearing?
We've set one, and then we moved it, and you remember how that used to be. We are shooting for the first week of June, but I will say with this caveat, and you know Horowitz, Jason, he's not giving me any updates on his investigation, nor should he, nor would I ask. I am simply saying we'd like to schedule the hearing, and I'll pick a date, and he'll tell me whether or not he thinks he's going to meet that target date or not, but I have no inside information, and I'm not supposed to.
Real quickly, Congressman Ratcliffe, in like 10 seconds, Director Mueller, how long do you think this continues to go on, and how would it impact the 2018 election, or will he wrap this thing up?
Well, I think he has to be very careful. I don't know. I don't want to put a specific date on it, but I think that Bob Mueller needs to be careful not to make the same mistake that both Republicans and Democrats criticized Jim Comey for, which was allowing an investigation to impact an election, which I think Republicans and Democrats agreed happened in 2016.
Gentlemen, it's good to be on the air with you. It was an honor and privilege to serve with you in the Congress, and I thank you for joining us tonight.